Chosen One. What if I told you that May 2025 isn't just another month on your calendar, but a divine appointment written long before you took your first breath? You see, most people glance at dates, mark birthdays, anniversaries, deadlines. But for the chosen ones, people like you, there are moments in time that heaven itself circles. Moments when everything shifts. Moments when what felt delayed suddenly arrives. And that moment is May 2025. Let me ask you something. Have you felt it lately? That quiet stirring in your spirit that you can't quite explain. The sense that you're standing at the edge of something enormous, but invisible. It's not your imagination. It's not wishful thinking. It's your spirit recognizing that the divine clock is about to strike. For months, maybe years, you've been wondering why life felt like a waiting room. Prayers unanswered. Doors shut. Silence from heaven. And perhaps in your quiet moments you've asked yourself, did God forget me? But here's the truth. Most won't tell you. God's delays are never His denials. They're His design. When God prepares a chosen one, He doesn't rush. He refines. He removes. He repositions. And now as May approaches, the refining fire is cooling. Because the vessel you is almost ready. Look back for a moment. Think about everything you've endured to get here. The betrayals, the losses, the nights where your only companion was doubt. None of it was random. None of it was wasted. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Now here's where it gets real. May 2025 isn't about waiting anymore. It's about awakening. This is the month where heaven's calendar aligns with your destiny. The month where hidden promises begin to surface. The month where the silence breaks and the reasons for your struggles finally come into focus. And hear me clearly, God doesn't just move for anyone. He moves for those who are positioned. So I'll ask you a question that only your spirit can answer. Are you ready? Are you prepared to step into what you've been praying for? Because blessings require readiness, and breakthrough demands responsibility. This message didn't find you by accident. It's a divine reminder that time is no longer standing still. The clock is ticking toward a moment that will separate who you were from who you were always destined to become. In the next chapters, I'll reveal exactly what May 2025 holds for God's chosen ones, the signs, the shifts, and the sacred assignments waiting to be unlocked. But before we move forward, I need you to pause. Feel this moment. Because once May arrives, your life will never look the same again. This is not just a message. It's a call to awaken. So stay with me. Your destiny is counting down, and heaven is watching to see if you'll be ready when the door swings open. Chapter 1. Recognizing the signs. Heaven has been whispering your name. Let me ask you something. And don't answer too quickly. Let it sink in. When did you first notice that life started to feel different? Not louder, not busier, but quieter. Like the noise of the world faded just enough for you to hear something else. A whisper you couldn't quite explain. You didn't tell anyone about it, did you? Because how do you explain to people that you feel like God is calling you, but you don't know where to? It starts subtly. You wake up one morning, and what used to excite you now feels hollow. Conversations seem shallow. The things that once defined your identity, your job, your relationships, your routines, start to feel like clothes that don't fit anymore. And then come the signs, not in flashing lights or grand gestures, but in patterns, the kind only your spirit notices. You glance at the clock and it's 11:11. Again. You see 777, 444 over and over until you stop brushing it off as coincidence. Your dreams, they shift from random images to vivid stories, messages you wake up remembering even days later. The people around you. Some begin to drift away without reason. Not in anger, not in conflict. They just fade. If any of this feels familiar, it's because heaven has been whispering your name. But here's the part most people miss. God doesn't shout to his chosen ones. He whispers, because he's close enough that you don't need the noise. You just need to listen. You see, being chosen isn't announced with trumpets. It's revealed in the quiet discontent that tells you, you weren't made for this level, there's more. And that more, it's what May 2020 is all about. But before the breakthrough comes, God ensures you recognize the signs. Because if you can't discern his whispers in the waiting, you won't recognize his voice when the doors open. Let me give you a truth that might explain everything you've been feeling lately. When God is about to shift your life, he first shifts your awareness. That's why old passions are falling away. That's why certain friendships feel forced now. That's why the things that once held meaning suddenly feel empty. It's divine disconnection. Not because you're losing something, but because God is making space. And here's something else. If you've been feeling out of place lately, that's not a sign you're lost. It's confirmation that you're being relocated spiritually before you're elevated physically. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you truly felt aligned? Not just busy, not just productive, but aligned with purpose, with peace, with something bigger than yourselves. If that feeling has been missing, it's because heaven has been adjusting your path, preparing you for the exact moment when alignment and assignment collide, and that moment is approaching fast. Now I know what you're thinking. But how do I know for sure that these signs mean I'm chosen? Let me be clear. The fact that you're even asking that question is proof enough. Ordinary souls don't wrestle with divine calling. Only those marked by God feel this restlessness. Because deep down, you've always known you were different, not better, not above anyone, but set apart. And if you're honest, you've known it since you were a child. That quiet knowing that your path would never look like everyone else's, that you'd face storms others didn't understand, that you'd carry weights others couldn't see. That was never a curse. It was your confirmation. So when God starts removing people, when he closes doors you thought you needed, when he pulls you into seasons of solitude, it's not rejection, it's redirection. Because here's the hard truth. Not everyone can walk with you where you're going. Some relationships expire when your calling matures. And God, in his mercy, ends what you don't have the strength to release. Now, I want you to pause for a moment. Think about everything that's left your life in the past year. The friendships that faded. The opportunities that slipped through your fingers. The plans that fell apart. What if I told you that wasn't loss? That was God clearing your runway. So when May 2025 arrives, nothing holds you back from taking flight. Chosen one, heaven has been speaking to you in every delay, in every closed door, in every quiet moment where you felt forgotten. But you weren't forgotten. You were being fine-tuned to hear what others can't. Because when the shift comes, and it will come, only those who recognized the signs will be ready to move. So here's my question to you now. Have you been paying attention? Not to the noise, not to the distractions, but to the subtle ways God has been guiding you, preparing you. Because May 2025 isn't waiting for you to figure it out. It's arriving whether you're ready or not. And trust me, you don't want to miss what heaven has been orchestrating behind the scenes of your life. In the next section, I'll show you why every tear, every unanswered prayer, and every lonely night was not just survival. It was strategy. Stay with me. The signs were just the beginning. Now it's time to understand the purpose behind your pain. Chapter 2. From Pain to Purpose. The fire was never meant to burn you. Imagine this. A blacksmith stands before a blazing fire. In his hands, a piece of raw, shapeless metal. Cold, ordinary, unremarkable. Now, If that metal could speak, it would probably scream the moment it touched the flames. It would ask, "Why this heat? Why this pressure? Why are you striking me again and again?" But the blacksmith wouldn't answer with words. He knows. The fire isn't there to destroy the metal. It's there to transform it, to turn it into something strong, refined, and ready for a purpose far greater than it could ever imagine. Chosen one, that metal, it's you, and every flame you've walked through, every blow life has dealt you, wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to shape you. You see, no chosen one is called without first being refined. But I know. When you're in the middle of that fire, it doesn't feel like preparation. It feels like punishment. You've asked those silent questions, haven't you? Why me? Why does it feel like every step forward is met with 2 steps back? Why does God seem silent when I need him most? Let me tell you something. No one says enough. The silence of God is often the sound of him working the deepest. Think about it. When a teacher gives a test, they don't speak. They watch. Not to see you fail, but to see you prove what you've learned in the quiet seasons. And that's exactly what these past months, maybe years, have been for you. God wasn't ignoring you. He was watching. To see if you'd trust his presence even when you couldn't feel it. To see if you'd keep walking when the path was dark. To see if you'd hold on when letting go would have been easier. You see, anyone can praise when life is good, but only the refined can worship through tears. Only the chosen can stand in the middle of loss and still whisper, "I believe." Let me ask you, how many times did you wipe your tears before anyone could see them? How many nights did you pretend to be strong when your heart was breaking inside? How often did you keep showing up even when your spirit felt empty? That wasn't weakness. That was the evidence of who you really are. Because survival wasn't your goal. Endurance was your assignment. Now here's the revelation I need you to grasp today. The fire didn't come to expose your fragility. It came to reveal your strength. Every disappointment, it taught you resilience. Every closed door, it taught you patience. Every betrayal, it taught you discernment. You thought you were being delayed, but heaven was developing you. And now, as May 2020 approaches, the question isn't why you went through all of that. It's who you became because of it. Let me remind you of something powerful. God never sends an untested vessel into a critical mission. Look at Joseph. Before he wore the robe of royalty, he wore chains in a prison cell. Look at David. Before he held the crown, he hid in caves, hunted and forgotten. Even Jesus, before resurrection glory, he walked through Gethsemane's agony. So why do you think your path would be paved in comfort? Why do you think your calling wouldn't come with a cost? Chosen one. You were never meant for an easy road. You were meant for a purposeful one. And every tear you've cried, every battle you fought in silence, was heaven's way of ensuring that when the door opens in May 2025, you won't just walk through it timidly. You'll walk through it ready. Because here's the truth. If God had answered every prayer when you first asked, if he had opened every door when you knocked, you wouldn't have had the strength, wisdom, or character to carry the blessing. It would have crushed you. But now you're no longer the same person who once begged for escape. You've been forged. And May 2025 isn't coming to rescue you. It's coming to reveal you. The version of you that was hidden beneath fear, beneath doubt, beneath the weight of wondering if you'd ever make it out of the storm. So let me shift the question for you today. Stop asking, "Why did I go through all of that?" and start declaring, "Thank God I survived because now I'm ready for what's next." Because survival wasn't the goal, transformation was. Now hear me. The fire is dying down. The blows are fewer because the blacksmith knows the weapon is ready. You chosen one, you are ready. In the next part, I'm going to reveal exactly what's waiting for you when May 2025 arrives. Not just promises, but purpose in motion. stay close, because your preparation is about to collide with your prophetic moment. Chapter 3. What May 2020 will unlock. Step into the future God prepared for you. Close your eyes for a moment. Now imagine this isn't just today. Imagine it's May 2025. You wake up, but something feels different. There's no anxiety in your chest. No heavy weight of how will I make it through this day. Instead, there's a stillness, a knowing. You glance at your phone, not to check for bad news, but because deep down you sense good news is coming. And then it happens. The message, the call, the opportunity. That door you stopped knocking on because it seemed permanently sealed. It swings open, not by force, not by desperation, but because it was always appointed to open now. Chosen one. I don't want you to just hope for this future. I want you to realize it's already been written. You're not waiting for a random blessing to appear. You're approaching a divine unlocking that's been set in motion since before you even knew how to pray for it. But let me be clear, May 2020 isn't a lottery ticket. It's not luck. It's alignment. It's the moment when heaven's timing meets your preparation, and suddenly everything that was delayed becomes delivered. Let me show you exactly what's waiting on the other side of this divine door, because if you can see it now, you'll walk into it with confidence when it arrives. 1. Your spiritual senses will awaken, like never before. The whispers you've struggled to interpret, they'll become clear instructions. That uneasy feeling of something's coming will shift into bold direction. Go here, speak now, wait, trust. Joel 2:28 wasn't poetic metaphor. I will pour out my spirit on all people. That outpouring is personal for you. You'll no longer question if God is speaking. You'll recognize his voice like a familiar friend. Dreams will carry blueprints. Sudden thoughts will be strategies from heaven. This is when life stops feeling like guessing and starts flowing in divine clarity. 2. Financial provision will align with your purpose. Now let's talk about something practical. Because God is spiritual, yes, but he's also strategic. For too long, you've been surviving, counting pennies, stretching resources, wondering if just enough was your permanent portion. It's not. May 2025 isn't about wealth for vanity. It's about provision for vision. God doesn't fund comfort zones. He funds kingdom missions. That's why the financial strain was part of your preparation, to teach you dependence on the source, not the sources. But now, because your heart has been refined, he can trust you with more. Not so you can boast in luxury, but so you can build legacies, support missions, bless others without hesitation. When the floodgates open, and they will remember, this isn't just abundance, it's assignment fuel. 3. Divine connections will enter your life. Think back on how lonely this season has felt. How many times did you wonder why God allowed isolation? Why certain people walked away? Why no one seemed to understand your journey? It wasn't abandonment. It was protection. God was clearing space for who's coming next. In May 2025, you'll witness relationships form that feel like destiny itself orchestrated them. People who speak your soul's language without needing explanation. Partners in purpose. Allies in faith. Mentors, supporters. Friends who don't drain you but ignite you. Isaiah 43:19 declares, "See, I am doing a new thing. I am making a way in the wilderness." These divine alignments will feel effortless because heaven is the one writing the introductions. Get ready because the days of forced connections are over. 4. Your divine mission will activate. Here's the part that gives me chills every time. That question you've whispered in the dark, God, why am I here? It gets answered. Not in vague terms, not in abstract ideas, but with blinding clarity. Some of you will wake up one morning and feel it. that undeniable push to start what you've been postponing. Ministries will launch, businesses with kingdom impact will be birthed. Homes will transform into sanctuaries of healing. No more wondering if you're qualified. No more waiting for permission. Because when God activates you, nothing and no one can stop it. Remember this: you weren't designed to merely exist. You were crafted to transform everything you touch. And May 2025 is when that dormant power finally comes alive. But chosen one, here's what I need you to remember. All of this, the awakening, the provision, the connections, the purpose, it's not a reward for surviving. It's the release of what you've already been prepared to carry. God isn't giving you something external. He's unlocking what's already been placed within you. So when May comes, don't walk through that door questioning if you deserve it. Walk through knowing, this is what I was forged for. Let me ask you, can you feel it already? That shift in the air? That quiet expectation building in your spirit? It's not hope. It's recognition. Because deep down, you know May 2025 isn't bringing something foreign. It's bringing you home to who you were always meant to be. In the next section, we'll explore how this moment isn't just about you. It's about a collective rising, the awakening of thousands, just like you, stepping into the light together. Stay with me. The future is closer than you think, and heaven is watching to see who's ready to rise. Chapter 4. The Rise of the 144,000. You were never alone in this calling. There's something I need to tell you. Something that deep down you've probably always suspected. You were never meant to walk this path alone. I know it felt that way. The isolation. The feeling that no one truly understood you, like you were speaking a language no one else could hear. But here's the hidden truth. It wasn't because you were abandoned. It was because you were being set apart for a moment when others just like you would begin to awaken. And that moment is now. You see, chosen one, for years, maybe decades, you thought you were the only one carrying this weight. The only one sensing that there was more to this life than routine, survival, and silence. But what if I told you that across the world, there are thousands who have been feeling that same pull, that same stirring, that same divine discomfort? What if I told you, you are part of a prophesied movement, a gathering that heaven ordained long before any of us opened our eyes to it? The world calls it coincidence. The Bible calls it the 144,000. And you are one of them. Let that settle in your spirit. Not as a number, not as a title, but as a confirmation of what your soul already knew. This isn't just your personal journey anymore. This is a collective rising. Look around, not with your eyes, but with your spirit. Have you noticed it? Strangers who feel familiar. Conversations that dive deeper than surface-level chatter. Moments where you lock eyes with someone, and without a word, you just know. That's not random. That's recognition. The 144,000 aren't being gathered by chance. They're being drawn together by divine frequency, a spiritual resonance that can't be explained, only felt. And here's why this matters more than ever. The darkness in this world. It's louder now because it knows what's coming. It senses the rising light. It fears the awakening of those who carry heaven's blueprint for restoration. Why do you think you've been attacked so relentlessly? Why do you think distractions, doubts, and divisions have tried to cloud your mind? Because a single light can be dimmed, but 144,000 lights rising together that cannot be stopped. This is why your isolation had purpose. It wasn't to weaken you. It was to prepare you for the moment when you'd find your true tribe and chosen one. That moment is unfolding. May 2025 is the catalyst. It's when scattered souls begin to synchronize, when those who've been walking alone suddenly find themselves surrounded by others carrying the same fire. You won't have to explain yourself anymore. You won't have to shrink to fit in rooms too small for your calling, because God is aligning you with those who speak the same spiritual language. But let me give you a deeper revelation. This gathering isn't about comfort, it's about commission. The 144,000 weren't chosen to simply survive in a broken world. They were chosen to transform it, each one carrying a piece of the divine puzzle. Healers, guides, builders called not just to shine, but to ignite change wherever they stand. And here's where you come in. You've been wondering why you've felt this urgency in your spirit lately, why complacency no longer feels tolerable, why you wake up with a sense that time is moving faster and your purpose feels heavier. It's because the call is no longer distant. It's here. You were born for this era, not by accident, but by divine strategy. And while the world sees chaos, you alongside thousands of others will see opportunity to bring light where darkness thought it had won. But there's a decision you must make, because being part of the 144,000 isn't passive. It's not a title you wear. It's a role you step into. You must choose to rise, to stand firm when others fall into fear, to speak truth when silence feels safer, to lead when the world is desperate for direction. Let me ask you, have you already felt that pull towards certain people lately? Connections that bypass logic and hit your soul directly. If so, that's your spirit tuning into the collective frequency. Comment I recognize if this resonates, because acknowledging it is the first step to alignment. And understand this, the enemy isn't afraid of lone believers. He's terrified of a united force of awakened souls who know exactly who they are. That's why your battles have intensified. That's why confusion has tried to cloud your vision. Because the moment you truly accept that you're part of this divine army, you become unstoppable. May 2025 is when isolation ends. It's when scattered embers become a wildfire. It's when you realize that every lonely night, every unanswered question was leading you to this collective rising. And here's the most beautiful part. No one can take your place in this movement. Your light, your voice, your journey. They are irreplaceable. Without you, the picture is incomplete. Without your obedience, a piece of heaven's plan remains dormant. So I ask you now, when the call echoes across the spiritual realm, will you step forward? Will you recognize that you weren't just chosen for personal breakthrough, but for a purpose that reaches far beyond yourself? In the next section, we'll face a hard truth. Why the final test before this breakthrough feels so heavy, and how to pass it with unwavering faith. Because the rise has begun, and heaven is watching to see who will stand. Stay close, chosen one. The army of light is awakening, and you're meant to lead within it. Chapter 5. The final test before breakthrough. Why it feels hardest right now. I see you. No, not just the version of you that smiles in public. Not the version that says, "I'm fine," when asked how you're doing. I see the real you. The one who's tired, the one who's been holding it together with quiet prayers and sheer willpower. The one who wonders in the silence of the night. God, how much longer? Let's be honest. Lately it feels heavier than ever, doesn't it? Like you're walking through spiritual mud, every step forward feels like a battle. Your mind is clouded. Your heart feels worn out, and part of you has whispered, if a breakthrough is coming, why does it feel like I'm breaking? Chosen one, that feeling, that pressure, that exhaustion, that invisible weight, it's not a sign that you're failing. It's proof that you're passing through the final test. You see, nobody talks about this part, the part where right before everything shifts, life feels like it's pressing in from every side. But this is exactly how God operates with His chosen ones. Before elevation comes pressure. Before the promise comes the proving ground. Think about it. Why did Joseph sit in prison just before he was called to the palace? Why did David hide in caves just before he wore the crown? Why did Jesus endure Gethsemane before resurrection glory? Because the pattern of heaven is clear. The darkest hour comes right before the dawn. And if you're feeling like you're at your limit, it's because you are standing at the threshold. But here's the truth. I need you to hear deep in your spirit. This final test isn't designed to break you. It's designed to reveal you. You've already been refined by fire. Now, heaven is watching to see if you'll hold your ground when everything within you wants to give up. Because blessings aren't handed to those who run when it gets hard. They're entrusted to those who stand firm when nothing makes sense. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Who are you when the answers don't come? Who are you when the doors stay closed? Who are you when heaven feels silent? That's who God is watching. That's who the enemy fears. Because anyone can worship when the breakthrough arrives, but only the truly chosen can praise in the pressure. Right now, you're not being punished. You're being positioned. The confusion, it's clearing distractions. The delays, they're strengthening your endurance. The loneliness, it's focusing your spirit. Every battle you're facing right now has one purpose: to prepare you to carry what's coming in May 2025 without collapsing under the weight of it. Because hear me, this breakthrough isn't just about receiving blessings. It's about stepping into responsibility. God doesn't elevate people for comfort. He elevates them for purpose. And purpose requires a spirit that doesn't crumble under pressure. That's why the enemy has been whispering louder lately. That's why doubt feels heavier than before. Because he knows what's on the other side of this test, and he's terrified you'll make it through. So let me speak directly to that weary part of your soul. You're closer than you think. The enemy isn't fighting you because you're weak. He's fighting you because you're dangerous to his plans. If you could see what heaven sees right now, you wouldn't be questioning if you'll make it. You'd be standing tall, knowing the finish line is within reach. But here's what separates those who enter their breakthrough from those who miss it. It's not talent, it's not favor, it's endurance. Those who endure to the end shall be saved. Matthew 24:13. So, I'll ask you, when it feels unbearable, will you stand? When no one claps for you, will you keep walking? When doubt screams, will you still choose faith? Because this final stretch isn't about how fast you move. It's about whether you refuse to quit. Chosen one, God has already decided to open the door in May 2025. That's settled. What's being decided now is whether you'll be ready to walk through it. And readiness isn't proven in moments of ease. It's proven in moments like this. So if your life feels like it's shaking, if you feel like everything familiar is being stripped away, know this. You are not being undone. You are being aligned. Heaven doesn't test those who aren't destined for more, and God wouldn't be allowing this pressure if you weren't about to carry something greater. So breathe, straighten your shoulders, and remind yourself, this is not the end. This is the final proving ground before promise becomes reality. In the next section, we'll talk about what comes after you endure, how to step boldly into your divine assignment once the door opens. But for now, stand firm, because if you're feeling the heat, it means you're exactly where you need to be. You're almost there. Chapter 6. Stepping into your assignment. The moment you stop asking for permission. Look in the mirror. No, really. If you can pause this walk to a mirror and look, because the person staring back at you, that's not who you were a year ago. Not even who you were yesterday. You've been changing quietly, steadily, not on the outside, but where it matters most, in your spirit. The question is no longer, will God move? He's already moving. The real question, the one that only you can answer, is, will you step into who you've been called to be? Because here's a truth most people never confront. God doesn't force you into your assignment. He invites you. You've been praying for breakthrough. You've been waiting for doors to open. But what if I told you, God is waiting too? Waiting for you to stop asking for permission to be who He already declared you to be. waiting for you to realize that May 2025 isn't just about receiving blessings, it's about owning your mission. Chosen one, you weren't called to survive this life. You were commissioned to transform it. And deep down, you've always felt that pull, haven't you? That sense that you were born for something bigger. Not fame, not fortune, but impact, the kind that echoes in eternity. So why are you still hesitating? Why are you waiting for a sign when God has already given you confirmation through every battle you've survived? Let me say this clearly. You don't need a title to walk in authority. You don't need a platform to fulfill your purpose. You don't need applause to validate your calling. The moment you accept that truth is the moment everything shifts, because heaven doesn't respond to hesitation, it responds to alignment. You were created as a solution to a problem in this world, a healer for the broken, a guide for the lost, a builder for what's yet to come. And here's how you know which one you are. Look at your life. What has burdened your heart the most? What injustice keeps you awake at night? What pain do you feel called to heal, even if it's not your own? That's not random. That's your assignment, revealing itself. Some of you are healers. You've always been drawn to the wounded offering comfort, where others look away. Some of you are guides. You see truth clearly when the world is drowning in confusion. And some of you are builders, visionaries who can't stop thinking about how to create systems, communities, and legacies that will outlive you. The world doesn't need more spectators. It needs you to step into that role fully, unapologetically. But let me give you a gentle warning. Stepping into your assignment doesn't start after May 2025. It starts now. Because when God opens that door, He's not looking for someone wondering if they're ready. He's looking for someone who's already walking in faith. Someone who decided, I'll act like I'm chosen before the world sees it. So what does that look like? It's speaking life, even when you feel drained. It's offering guidance, even if no one asked for it yet. It's building with the little you have, trusting that provision will catch up to vision. You've been waiting for clarity, but clarity often comes after you start moving, not before. Remember, Moses didn't see the Red Sea part until he stretched out his hand. Peter didn't walk on water until he stepped out of the boat. God responds to movement, not fear. So I'll ask you plainly, what have you been delaying because you didn't feel ready? What idea? What calling? What act of service have you buried beneath excuses and doubts? It's time to unearth it. Because May 2025 isn't bringing a magic wand. It's bringing a stage for what you've already been preparing in private. If you've been faithful with the small things, get ready, because God is about to amplify your impact in ways you never imagined. But if you've been waiting for conditions to be perfect, you risk watching opportunity pass by because you were still questioning your worth. Chosen one. You don't step into your assignment because you feel confident. You step in because you trust the one who called you. So today I challenge you to make a decision, not tomorrow, not when May arrives, but now. Decide to act like the healer, the guide, the builder you were created to be, even if no one sees it yet, even if it feels small. Because heaven sees, and heaven rewards those who move in faith, not fear. In the next section, we'll talk about what life looks like after you've stepped through that divine door, how to walk in authority without falling back into old patterns of doubt. But for now, stand in front of that mirror one more time and declare, not with hesitation, but with certainty, I am called, I am chosen, I am ready, because the only permission you ever needed was already written in heaven. Chapter 7, Life After May 2025. Walking in your new season with authority and peace. Listen, do you hear that? It's the sound no one talks about after the breakthrough silence. Not the silence of waiting, not the silence of unanswered prayers, but the silence that comes when the storm has finally passed. And for the first time in a long time, there's peace. Chosen one. Have you ever imagined what life will feel like after May 2025? After the doors open, after the blessings pour in, after the calling becomes clear. You've spent so long fighting, enduring, praying through tears that maybe you haven't paused to think about what happens when the battle ends. Let me take you there. It won't be loud. It won't be chaotic. It will feel still, like standing in the middle of a field after a heavy rain. The air is fresh. The sky is clear, and all you can do is breathe deeply for the first time in years. That's what life after your divine unlocking will feel like. But here's something important. When the dust settles, you won't be the same person who entered the storm. You'll carry something new, not just blessings, not just opportunities, but authority. And authority doesn't shout. It doesn't need to prove itself. True authority, God-given authority, speaks softly but moves mountains. After May 2025, you'll notice it. The things that used to shake you don't. The people who once intimidated you fade into the background. The doubts that screamed in your mind fall silent. Because when you've walked through fire and come out refined, you no longer fear the flames. But here's the part I want you to prepare for. When life shifts and your prayers are answered, it's easy to fall back into old patterns, to get so comfortable in the blessing that you forget the purpose. Remember this: God isn't just delivering you into abundance, He's positioning you to steward influence. Life after May 2025 isn't about relaxing into comfort. It's about walking in alignment every single day. And alignment requires awareness. So what does that look like? It looks like protecting your peace, not allowing every voice, every opinion, every distraction back into your life just because things are better now. It looks like guarding your time, recognizing that your minutes are now more valuable because your mission has expanded. It looks like speaking intentionally, knowing that your words now carry weight in the spiritual realm. When you bless, things move. When you declare, doors open. Proverbs 18:21 says, "Death and life are in the power of the tongue." After your awakening, this won't just be scripture. It will be your daily reality. But perhaps the most beautiful change will be internal. You'll no longer chase validation. You'll no longer seek confirmation from others, because you'll know without question who you are and whose you are. That quiet confidence, that's what the enemy fears most, because a chosen one who knows their identity is unstoppable. So as you prepare for this next chapter, I want you to carry this truth. You don't have to strive anymore. You don't have to force what's meant for you. Blessings will flow to you not because you chased them, but because you finally aligned with who God designed you to be. The opportunities, the connections, the provision, they'll recognize your spirit before you even speak. But, and this is important, stay humble, stay surrendered. Because elevation without humility leads to downfall, but elevation with surrender leads to legacy. Chosen one. After May 2025, your life will no longer be defined by survival stories. It will be defined by impact. People will look at you and wonder, how did they get here? They won't understand the years of silence, the tears, the tests, but you will. And you'll smile, because you'll know that every moment of pain was the price for this peace. Now let me leave you with this. When you wake up on that morning after the breakthrough, after the confirmation, after the shift, don't rush. Stand still for a moment. Feel the weight of God's faithfulness, and whisper these words. I am ready, I receive this, and I will honor it. Because life after May 2025 isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a life lived fully awake, fully aligned, and fully surrendered to divine purpose. The waiting season is closing. The striving is over. Now, you walk with authority, with peace, and with the quiet confidence of someone who knows. God didn't just bring me through. He brought me into everything I was created for. Welcome to your new season, Chosen One. Now live it. This is just the beginning, Chosen One. Take a deep breath. Let it settle in your spirit. You've made it to the end of this message, but in truth, this isn't the end at all. It's the beginning. Chosen One. You now know what May 2025 holds. You understand why the battles were so fierce, why the silence was so long, and why your spirit has been restless. Because you were never waiting on God. God was preparing you. And now heaven is watching, the angels are leaning in, and the divine clock is counting down. The question that remains isn't if breakthrough will come. It's already written. The question is, will you be ready to carry what's being released into your life? You've heard every word, felt every confirmation in your soul. Now it's time to respond. Not tomorrow, not when it's convenient. If this message spoke to you, if something deep inside whispered, "This is for me," don't let it fade away like just another video. Declare it, seal it in the spiritual realm. Comment below, "I am ready, I receive it." Let heaven record your words. Let the enemy know you're standing firm. And let your future self look back at this moment as the day you chose alignment over fear. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe, because this isn't the last word God has for you. There's more revelation coming, and I promise to walk this journey with you. And if you know someone who's been feeling lost, someone carrying the weight of a calling they don't yet understand, share this message with them. Because chosen ones are rising, and no one is meant to rise alone. Thank you for staying with me. Your presence here was no accident. It was a divine appointment. Now go. Step boldly into what's waiting for you. May 2025 is approaching, and heaven is ready. Are you? God bless you, Chosen One. I'll see you in the next revelation.